Well, good morning and welcome to another Wine Steward video. What you see before you, or before me, either way, is or are the makings of an insalata caprese. Have you had a caprese salad before? What you need are your neighbor's tomatoes, so you don't have to grow them, but you do want homegrown tomatoes. You know there's a difference. And these beauties are ready right about this time of the year. Now that summer has finally arrived, I'll bet your tomato vines, or more helpfully, those of your neighbors, don't steal them, please ask kindly for them, are ready. This is a beautiful time of the year to enjoy a fresh tomato salad, not just because the tomatoes are ripe, but because the wine you're possibly drinking is bright and refreshing and clean and probably has never seen oak before. It could be a dry rosé as well, but this wine, yeah, this smells like it would be insalata caprese wine. So what is an insalata caprese? We've mentioned the base. The main base is really good quality tomatoes, of course. Slice those up, and then upon those, you will add burrata. Burrata is an Italian cheese that is like a soft pillow of cheese love. They are now making burrata here in the United States, but I think the very best still comes from Italy, and this burrata we carry does, in fact, come from Puglia, Italy. And of course, if it came on a boat, it would get here smelling kind of nasty. So in fact, this is flown over once a week to us. Yes, there's a runway on the roof. But actually, we have a very good provider of Italian foods who also brings over this cheese. And we're very fortunate to have the best burrata in town, we believe, from Fresca Italia. So do yourself the favor of getting good burrata, maybe paying a couple bucks more, but you really ought to have the quality stuff from Italy for your insalata caprese, and you ought to pronounce it like that. And then what? After you've got little wads of burrata scattered all over your sliced tomatoes, I think at that point it's time to drizzle the whole affair with quality olive oil. And again, quality ingredients, great tomatoes, great burrata, great olive oil. With such a simple combination of ingredients, really makes a difference. And then what? How about some fresh ground pepper? How about some kosher salt? How about, at the very end, the finishing touch, hopefully also grown by your neighbors, so you don't have to do it, some basilica, some basil, fresh basil. And in fact, you would take these leaves, if you want to make this really pretty, you would take the leaves and roll them up the long way. Get a whole stack of these basil leaves, roll them up the long way, and then you will perform a chiffonade, which is nothing dirty, by the way. You're going to slice across lots of nice thin cuts, and then you frill that whole thing up, and you've got this. I'm not going to do a reenactment for you, but you know what a chiffonade is, right? It's not something that you need to be ashamed of. Wow, smells like summer. This on top of everything, a chiffonade of basil leaves puts the finishing touch on a insalata caprese. Why are we talking about burrata? Because we want you to come in and buy some, because we are loaded with it, and we would like you to visit the wine bar to enjoy burrata. We're not going to make you an insalata caprese up here, but we will in fact put out nice crackers, the cheese split a couple of ways with beautiful olive oil, this stuff from Montalcino, Italy, in there or on there, and the kosher salt, perhaps a little treatment of herbs de Provence. That's kind of fun to do. And just be aware that we are discounting, because we bought a lot. We want a lot of you to enjoy it. We are discounting that burrata platter this weekend only. That would mean today, tomorrow, and Sunday. I think we're taking $2 or $3 off of the full price of burrata, the cheese platter that you may enjoy right up here at the Wine Steward's Mezzanine Wine Bar. What else can we tell you about? Let's in fact tell you about something that's going on in the wine bar. A white flight, a white tasting flight, all refreshing whites, all no oak whites this week. I think all of these are new arrivals, yes. And I can tell you already that the two that come from the Napa Valley are turning out to be the crowd favorites. From what I'm hearing, and I hear a lot from that office over there, it's nice to hear people's reactions to these various wines. I think all of these are beautiful, but this particular one has caused a stir. because it's some of the best Chenin Blanc you'll ever have from California, called Chipoke, and it is uniquely endangered in that it comes from the Napa Valley, as I mentioned before. But did you know there's hardly any Chenin Blanc vines, or hardly any Chenin Blanc vines left in the Napa Valley? Most of those have been torn out in favor of far more lucrative Cabernet Sauvignon, right? So it's kind of cool that Chipoke keeps some of the ground in their own estate vineyard and makes this brilliant wine, which I do contend would go very nicely with your Insalata Caprese or your Burrata cheese platter that you order up here on the mezzanine. Okay, I can't stand it any longer. Yes, they're right. This is quite possibly the best white on the flight. How about a red wine? I'll just represent one red wine that is in the red wine tasting flight, because as you know, we do both a red flight and a white flight every week, and that changes absolutely every week up here at the wine bar to keep you regulars engaged and intrigued. Show you differences. The true wine lover loves difference. Maybe we don't drink a lot of Bordeaux Rouge in the middle of the summer. Yeah, it's gonna go over 90 degrees again today, but I'm just hearing that people are loving this wine, and we just gave it, in fact, to the World Class Wine Club as well. So this is Chateau Vieux Chavrol. It is from La Lande de Pomerol, which is a satellite, you could call, of Pomerol itself, famous right bank wine region. And it's going to be comprised of Merlot, because that's what really works well on the right bank, as well as Cabernet Sauvignon and a dab of Cabernet Franc. So check out this beautiful Chateau Vieux Chavrol. It's tucked into the middle of the red wine flight, so you can enjoy it as a 2-ounce pour, along with 2-ounce pours of 4 other reds. And maybe once you've finished and you agree with other attendees that this might be the best red wine in the flight, order up a glass. Why not? It's really the better way to know a wine anyway, about a full glass. A taste after you've had another taste, and before you've had another taste, maybe you never really get to know that wine with a 2-ounce pour. So do consider enjoying whole glasses of these wines, not just at home, but up here at the wine bar. Now, let's leave that up here, and just for reference or context, put this up here. This may be the type of glass that some of you are using at home because you don't really yet value the importance of good stemware. As you know, if you've been visiting the wine bar a lot, we are kind of paranoid about good stemware, and we insist on, most of the time, putting a particular wine in the correct glass shape. And so, if you have this glass instead at home, you will note, especially when you have a good glass in your hand, that this little sucker is probably heavier than this big guy. The rim is thicker. There's hardly a stem to hold it by. And then when you smell wine out of here, you got nothing. When you smell wine out of here, you got something. Why am I elaborating on this? Because we're gonna do a Riedel glassware stemware appreciation event where we will, for the first 30 or 40 minutes, work hard on 4 different wines and move those wines from glass to glass to glass, and understand and realize and fully appreciate, if we don't already, the importance of good stemware. And not just good stemware, but the difference the shape of good stemware can make. So if we had this wine in here, it would be different. Smelling it and tasting it would be a different experience. Am I saying a better experience in one or the other? Not necessarily. So we're not going to be dogmatic about saying you must put this bright white wine into what we call a bright white glass. You must never put it in a New World Pinot Noir glass, or we will never speak again. It works pretty well there, but it is different. It loses brightness. It smells a little flat. So that's the kind of thing we're going to be discussing, kind of hardcore, for 30 or 40 minutes at this Riedel class. Now, if a Riedel representative was here to guide you, that's all you'd be having, 4 wines, because they really want to sell you this stemware. Well, of course, so do we, but we want you to appreciate great wine in great stemware. And so we're going to go on to have probably 8, 9, maybe even 10 more wines of all kinds. Maybe we'll have, in fact, I know we'll have a Barolo, that's a Piemontese Nebbiolo, don't you know, Italy. And then we're going to have, who knows what, beautiful Pinot Noir, and maybe a white Burgundy, and so on. And we will be, at that point, slacking off a little bit. We're gonna get more conversant. We're gonna have a conversation instead of us, you know, kind of like teaching and preaching. Teaching and preaching will be kind of over with. We're going to learn by comparing notes with each other. What do you think? How do you like this wine in this glass? And so on. So more discussion will happen at that point while we enjoy world-class wines from here, here, and here, and here. From the United States and abroad. So how about that? Why don't we do a Riedel class that the Riedel representative would never actually provide you with? Because we want to, frankly, sell you some wine as well as sell you some glasses. And again, as the wine lover appreciates difference, we will promise you that no two wines will be alike at this event. So I don't have a date for this yet. I think we're going to do it in about a week and a half because we are going to try to cram 3 different events into September. So let's just let on very, very briefly about what else is happening. Maybe even the same week, we will be having an Italian event like no other Italian event we've ever put on, in that we will have representatives, sometimes winemakers, from 4 different regions in Italy, each representing 3 different wines. So 12 wines in all, and we're going to have a lot of accents, let's just say that. And it'll be a great evening of all Italian wines. The first time we've really done it this way, but it'll be really cool to get it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and savor beautiful wine and learn at the same time from well-accented people from Italy. How cool. What else are we doing? Maybe not all of you have heard of him, but if you've been hanging around the Wine Steward long enough, you've certainly heard the name Paul Bullard, who visits about once a year to put on a beautiful show of both foreign and domestic wines. Again, in the interest of tasting difference, Paul represents both kinds of wines, foreign and domestic, and speaks very well for them. He's a wonderful teacher of wine and kind of semi-retired now, but we keep dragging him out of semi-retirement to come back up to the mezzanine to show us his most current wares from Italy, France, and the United States. So anticipate that happening a little later in September. All 3 of these will happen in September. We're gonna put up dates on the, and make tickets available, seats available for sale on thewinesteward.com very, very soon here. And we hope you will sign up early and often. Don't forget the insalata caprese that you're gonna make at home after you've been inspired by a burrata cheese platter up here on the mezzanine wine bar, which this week and Friday, today, Saturday, and Sunday will be discounted a little bit to encourage your purchase and enjoyment of burrata flown from Puglia, Italy. How about that? Thanks so much for all you do here. Keep doing it.